Good afternoon, my great people, Facebook and Instagram. Here is Queen Teresa coming to you once again with news you can use concerning His Loving Care Ministries. So we are here with a great passion and a desire to build up our communities one family at a time through education. I'm really big on education because the more you know, the more you grow. Also through services. I love helping. Ministry of Helps is one of my biggest spiritual gifts is the Ministry of Helps. And other enhancements we want to implore as well, such as homeless outreach events, domestic violence rallies, and also housing assistance. All right. So His Loving Care Ministries, we officially became a private charity organization on April 5th of 2022. So that was not even quite 4 weeks ago. And of course, as you should know, this is one of my babies that was birthed within the past few years. The Lord had given me plans and a vision for some years back. So to finally see things manifest and to fall into place is indescribable. So I'm going to come today and talk about these services that we're talking about and these educational pieces, and also talk about our homeless outreach events, domestic violence rallies, housing, and so on and so forth. Now, on the other day, I did already do a video, since I have to be creative and do it this way because audio is not available for me on Facebook. Why? I'm not certain. I've even reached out to tech, but Facebook and still nothing. So we're going to do it this way because there are going to be times where I'm not going to be able to come before the camera. Not that anything is wrong, but audio would be more convenient for me. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm multitasking and I'm doing something else. So for right now, what I'm doing is I am updating our His Loving Care Ministries website with the recent updates. So that's a lot of reason why I would rather do audio than video because of the convenience of it all. But anyway, as stated before, His Loving Care Ministries' mission is to enhance our communities one family at a time. So domestic violence awareness and prevention. This effort here holds true to my heart. And its origin is when I decided to run for Miss Plus Size America. That was a few years back. And as Miss North Charleston Plus Continental, my platform was actually dealing with domestic awareness. And doing the work for the first time, it gave me a passion for it. So even though I'm no longer in that role, the work still must go on. And I remember saying during that time that I was going to have a foundation. I remember saying it. I said that I'm going to have a foundation. At that time, I was thinking it was going to be like Teresa's Foundation or whatever. But, when you're a child of God, it's not about you anymore. We are one with Christ. So we can't have anything with our own names, right? Self-numbers. So I came up with His Loving Care, Christ, right? So we want the foundation to be in His name. And I said, I remember that I was going to start a foundation that was going to significantly help with this platform with domestic violence awareness and prevention. And to see it happen, it was official. We actually applied as an entity August the 23rd of 2021. And so I first applied for our 501c3 status January of 2022 and finally got approved April 5th of 2022. So what that means for you is that any contributions or gifts that you make to His Love and Care Ministries, it is a tax write-off. It's a deduction. So everything that you give will be twofold, because number one, it's going to be going through the great causes that we're going to be able to use the funds to finance the services and programs that we have available. And number two, you are going to be able to get a break from your taxes, from paying your taxes. Not that anybody don't want to pay taxes. Trust me, it is an honor and a privilege to be able to pay taxes. There are so many people, like in the third world countries, that don't have the ability to pay taxes. So trust me, it is an honor to be able to pay taxes. But sometimes you need a break. I know for quite some time now, I've been paying, as a single parent, I pay about $1,000 a month in taxes. Okay, that is a lot for a single parent. So anytime anybody can get a break, why not? So any contribution that you make to His Love and Care Ministries, you can get a tax break. All right. So when it comes to domestic violence, there is really a great need for support services here locally, also the surrounding areas of the Low Country. So I live in Charleston, South Carolina, by the way. But we're not just restricting our help to South Carolina, but we have to start somewhere, and charity starts at home, right? All right, so His Love and Care has devised a 3-tier system that, when it's executed as intended, it will significantly impact the astronomical cases of domestic violence in our surrounding areas. So domestic violence does not only exist between a man and a woman, it also exists among children. So we are definitely big on child abuse awareness. Okay. Hey, Queen Teresa has a big heart for children, because children are our future. And there's an African proverb that says, how are the children doing? Right? Because the children, they are the foundation, and the children are our future. So if our children are not well, then we as a society as a whole, then we are not well. So His Love and Care Ministries, we want to bring awareness around child abuse as well. Okay, so this 3-tier system of support, number one is situational support. Number 2 is aftercare. And 3 is preventative care. The other day, and I'm going to see if I can post a link to the live where I went into great detail breaking down the meaning of situational support, the reason behind it, and also the program that's going to be in use to help with that facet. All right, so today we're going to look at aftercare. Now, aftercare is the most sensible phase whenever a survivor is moving over from the gruesome status of being a victim in a domestic violence situation. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why aftercare is important. Because we don't want anybody just to feel like nobody cares about me. I have to go back to where I was at. No, we cannot have that happen. Because it is the great care and empathy that His Love and Care Ministry is going to exude on these persons, where they're going to be overwhelmed and they're going to have no choice but to come out of that situation. So we explained that's exactly what situational support is. Situational support is supporting you along the way until you get to that point where you're ready to leave. Okay. So now aftercare is saying that this victim finally got the nerves and the boldness to say, I'm ready to leave. So that means that they have already linked up with our experts who will help them plan their escape. Now, it's possible that an individual can be in between the situational support phase and aftercare because these plans of escapes can take anywhere from 4 months to 24 months to come to its full fruition. So let's keep that in mind. These tiers, they do overlap, okay? They do overlap. So some of the programs that might be concrete under one particular tier, it can also flow over into another tier as well. All right. So a individual who's being taken advantage of situational support, they can be gravitating towards aftercare. So they could still be eligible for the services under aftercare because they are with a team of experts working their escape plan. Because we know that, like the old proverb says, is that you have to ease your hand out of the lion's mouth. All right. So those experts, and trust me, they are the best. They know exactly what to do to slowly wean that individual out of that situation without hurt, harm, or danger. All right. So aftercare, because we realize that there could be a barrier, right, to that survivor starting over again, turning over a new leaf, and starting a new life. There are barriers. So aftercare is there to disseminate each and every one of those barriers, making it as smooth a transition as possible. A lot of this is stemming from my own personal experiences, as a single parent. Let's see, I was in my mid-20s. I was 24 when I gave birth to my oldest. And so around the age of 24, 25, there I was living in the projects here in Charleston on Ashley Avenue, not the Ashley Avenue where the MUSC hospital is on. We talk about the Ashley Avenue that's closer to the border between North Charleston and downtown. I don't know if y'all know about that part of Ashley Avenue in the projects. So there I was living in the projects, no transportation, and still having to take care of my child like any other mother should. And it being very difficult, relying on the bus system. Now, it was a little easier catching the buses downtown versus West Ashley or any other areas because, downtown, you could literally get a bus every 15 to 20 minutes downtown. But when you live on the outskirts, when you live like in West Ashley or James Island, Johns Island, things may have changed now. Like I said, I was 25 at the time, so we're talking about 20 years ago where the transportation system was not the best. So I remember thinking at that time, I wish I had somebody who could help me with my transportation needs, just making it easier. So that brings about our very first program under Aftercare, Ride on Us to Safety. Now, I am the founder and the owner of Ride With Us 2. Ride With Us 2 is a transportation company where we can transport you or goods or provide any service that you need to get from point A to point Z. And what I'm willing to do is I'm willing to donate my business to this foundation to help these survivors make that transition. All right, because a lot of them were implored by financial abuse. In other words, they were with the aggressor and he's the one or she is the one that had the job, that made all the money, had the car, the vehicles, and they have absolutely nothing. So the last thing I want them to say, well, I might as well go back to where I was because how am I going to get around? Or where am I going to get the money I need to live? So statistics show that 87% of survivors that go back to that volatile situation that they do not survive. Because the aggressor is like, okay, you got away from me the first time. I'm gonna make sure you don't get away again. And they killed them. Unfortunately, 87%. And we at His Loving Care Ministries, we cannot afford to have that happen under our watch. So Ride on Us to Safety is just that. It is a ride, girl or young man. When you need a ride, you need to go pick up some groceries. We got you. You need to get the babies to the doctors. We got you. Even if you want to plan a family vacation, and that's another thing that came up in my spirit. I'm so happy about it. Giving away vacations to families. Say, hey, now that you're out, congratulations. This is your award. You can go ahead and spend 3 days and 2 nights in the mountains in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which is absolutely beautiful. Or why don't you spend a weekend with your family in Myrtle Beach? So we want to be able to do that. So Ride on Us too is where we're going to have a fleet of vehicles. I'm working on that now, that we will be able to use to bring about this help. Now, this is very, very foundational. And this is a service that will definitely be the link from victim to survivor. Okay. Another program that we have that's very, very important is Family Court Advocacy. I have been trained with my sister's house as a court advocate. So my job is to help survivors file their petitions for orders of protection, whether it be a restraining order or orders of any kind. Also, I help her submit her paperwork at that time so that she can solicit the court for help in any way, like child support payments. We can ask for, recovery of any property that may have been left behind in the home, having to leave in haste. We can help her ask for assistance of any kind, anything that she will need to help her. Or I say her, remember I said a pronoun is her, but domestic violence is not prejudiced to any gender. There are just as many men that have an issue with domestic violence as well as women. So I use her for a pronoun that will represent both men and women. So keep that in mind. So I am the one that's there. And then you have to keep in mind too, that whenever a survivor has to face her perpetrator in court, this is probably the first time that she, is facing her aggressor since leaving. So you can imagine how intimidating that may be. So we, His Loving Care Ministries, we want to, along with my sister's house, we want to be there to hold her hand and say, we are here for you. We got you. Don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. So we teach on the time frame on when one should file for order protections. We let you know how long it lasts, and make sure you don't wait till the last minute to renew your order of protection, because a lot of times it could take a couple of months to reinstate. All right. And so that time in between can be very dangerous. So that is another service under Aftercare, is Family Court Advocacy. Next, we got His Loving Care Clothes Closet, where we will have clothes to distribute to our homeless community and also to the survivors of domestic violence and child abuse. But the main umbrella under His Loving Care Clothes Closet is Dress for Success. This is where we want to make sure our survivors have her best look when she's starting her new life, and making sure she has the proper attire for her job interviews. All right. And also, that leads me into the next phase of aftercare, job placement. We will have services on hand to help you do your job seeking, resume writing, interview tips, and etc. So as you can see, that phase will tie in very closely with Dress for Success. Also, we want to talk about housing and rental assistance. This for me is major because if I can prevent a family from being out on the streets or in a shelter or in their vehicle, that's my life. As I stated before, my main ministry gift is the gift of helps. Among all things, it's the gifts of helps. And of course, I remember so many times as a single mom, when you're living in the hotels, it's not like you pay once a month when you are renting an apartment. You have to pay every week. And there is no leeway. If you don't pay by 10 a.m. on the day that is due, you have to pack up your stuff and leave. And so, thank God that he gave me favor a lot of times with the women that were in the office. And they worked with me and they would give me a couple of days when I needed an extension. In the meantime, I was like, what can I do? Well, guess what? His Loving Care Ministries want to be the one to bridge the gap. We can help you make that week, couple of weeks. And even so, we want to be able to help you get housing. And I'll tell you what was a big break for us is, I can't remember which, I think we were at the Stay Over Lodge on McMillan Avenue. That was probably one of the worst places we had. So here I was. I remember my son looking at me and saying, Mama, you literally pray like every 15 minutes, because it was two of us. My kids, they were teenagers. We're staying in a 300 square foot room with the two queen size beds right next to each other. So we have no privacy at all. Looking at each other all day. Real small space. We had, I guess the living area was just a table where you can sit at. We did have a small little kitchenette that consisted of a microwave, and we did have a full-size refrigerator, so that was a good thing. We did have small cabinet space. We had a sink, and we had a bathroom, and that was it. We had an armoire in there. I guess that was supposed to be the figure of a closet. And after being in that situation for like 10 months and seeming like, okay, because you have to realize that when you're in a hotel and you're paying $200, $250, $300 a week, it is very difficult to save up for a down payment for an apartment. Because you got to pay the security deposit, you got to pay the first month rent, you got to pay the last month rent. It is difficult to come up with that kind of money when you have to pay that much. I would tell you no lie, man. I actually was going to do a plan, and my kids was looking at me like, no, Mama, that wasn't going to work. Where instead of me getting a hotel, we were just going to go ham, and we were just going to stay in the car. We were going to stay in the car. And I said, kids, we just going to have to do this so that Mama can save this money for us to get an apartment. But that didn't work. So our big break was an organization like His Loving Care Ministries paid for us to move in to where we're at now. So that was about 6 years ago. So because I am so grateful and I remember how it felt, I want to go ahead and pay it forward. And I want to be able to make that difference for someone moving out of the hotels, like maybe stay over. We do our homeless outreach events over there a lot. We have visited that area over the past year. and have given a lot of care. So there was somebody who, when we were doing our community outreach at the Siesta Hotel, and she asked me, she says, do you guys provide with rental assistance? And I was saying, I wish I could say yes, and I wish I could have just write her a check or, give it to the office or whatever. But that is what we want to do. So I cannot wait until the funds, because I already know the funds are going to come in to help with this. So my committee and I, we're going to get together and talk about the parameters and what the guidelines will be to become eligible for the assistance. Because I know there's going to be a lot. It's a great need, but we may not be able to help everyone, but we want to help those that need it the most. All right, and then finally, but definitely not least, under the Aftercare tier of domestic violence awareness is, does anybody ever think about the aggressor? We have services available for those who are violated, but what about for the one who is responsible for the violations? Does anybody ever think about reaching out to him or her? Well, His Love and Care Ministries, we think about that a lot. And this is where the gospel comes in, right? Because the scripture says that when a brother or a sister is overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual shall restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself. How would you feel if you were in that situation? So we want the aggressor to find out why he or she is acting out in this way. Why? We want them to be able to get to the root cause and an effort to restore the family, to save a family, and to build up the community, one family at a time. So under this tier, this umbrella, under Aftercare, we want to have experts available to really help these aggressors. We want to restore them in the spirit of meekness, because if that was either one of us, we would appreciate that same help as well. So that is it. We have come today to let you know that we have a 3-tier support for domestic violence awareness and prevention, situational support, aftercare, and preventative care. Today we talked about Aftercare. Aftercare is simply providing all the support systems to eliminate barriers that a survivor may face in order to efficient the desire to return back to the violent home. All right. So some of the services we have available under Aftercare is going to be Ride on Us to Safety, where we're going to take care of all the transportational needs. Family court advocacy, where we're going to help you file for your order protections. His Love and Care Clothes Closets, Dress for Success, where we make sure you have your best look in your new life. Job placement and rental housing assistance. And finally, but definitely not least, we want to have a restoring program for the aggressors. All right, so thank you so much for tuning in to Queen Teresa, His Love and Care Ministries. I will be coming back. I don't know when, but we're going to be talking about preventative care. I'm going to put in the comments the link to both His Love and Care Ministries website and app. All right, so you guys definitely enjoy the rest of your day. Be blessed and take care. We will be coming with Breakthrough Power Hour Sunday morning at 7:45 a.m. Thank you. Bye-bye.